Hello, Giorgio is back again today to talk about one of the most beautiful works of William Shakespeare. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? This is also called Sonnet 18. Well, Shakespeare composed 154 sonnets. They are all dedicated to, we can say, he distinguished two series of sonnets. The first part was dedicated to an unknown dark lady, probably a lady of a colored complexion, we don't really know, and another one to a mysterious figure. Well, there are some critics who believe that probably both series were dedicated to himself, so they considered a contrasting side of his own personality. Shakespeare was born in 1564 in Stratford-upon-Avon in Yorkshire. He married very young. He married Anne Hathaway. Actually, he was just 18. And then with her, he had 3 children. He didn't live his life in Stratford-upon-Avon because very soon he went to London. To settle down, to settle down, and also to set up a very important company, and also to write all his works, which were mainly tragedies, comedies, historical plays, and finally 154 sonnets. Today, okay, who doesn't remember one of his masterpieces? Let's say Romeo and Juliet. Who doesn't remember Macbeth? Or maybe who doesn't remember The Merchant of Venice? A work all about the feeling of revenge. Well, revenge was a very important feeling at that time as now, and he really depicted him in all his characteristics. We can see that Shakespeare really managed to depict the human soul in a very skillful way. That's why we can say that he's one of the most important writers of all English literature. Okay, so William Shakespeare is number one. He's a hero. He's a giant of literature. He's a giant of literature. Shakespeare is, can we say, is my love. I adore him and I adore everything he wrote. He's honestly is the best of all. Even now, all his works are, let's say, evergreen. They are still meaningful and interesting to the younger generations. Okay, let's go back to the sonnet. Okay, I'm going to read the sonnet and then I'll talk about the themes and why I think it's very interesting. Shall I compare thee? Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his cold complexion dimmed, and every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course, untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owes, nor shall death brack thou wanders in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou grows. So long as man can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. So in this sonnet, Shakespeare compares this young man or this young lady, we don't really know who this person is. We can imagine it was actually about, it was describing a friend of his, a very young man, a young gentleman. And he's at the beginning is like praising him, is telling him that he's more beautiful, more handsome than summer. Why summer? Because in England, summer is the best season of all. In England, weather is not so mild like in Italy. What does it say? Well, if I compare you, because thou in English, in Old English, meant you. Okay? If I compare you to summer, I can say that you're better. You are more lovely, because even in the summer, we can have problems, like for example, summer can be shorter, or maybe summer can be too hot, and so we don't like when the weather is too hot, when the climate is not so temperate, okay? Or sometimes, even in the summer, sometimes there are clouds. There are clouds, or it rains. And so it says, well, even rough winds do shake the darling buds of May. So I mean, May, even it's not summer May, but when it's windy, even in the summer, maybe the beautiful buds, the beautiful little flowers of May fly away, taken by the wind, with the rough winds. What does this mean? It means that even in the summer, we can have bad weather, while you are more lovely, more temperate. Okay, and it says even in the summer, sometimes. Then it says sometimes even summer can be shorter than usual. So it's not, let's say, an assumption that summer is the best season, it's the best, the most beautiful seasons of all, because we may have problems even in the summer. While you are better, you are more lovely and more temperate. So honestly, he thinks that this person is more lovely than summer. Then in the second stanza, he talks about the weather conditions that make summer become a little bit tough. For example, sometimes the sun, and he calls the sun the eye of heaven. So this is very beautiful. This is it really attracts your imagery. The sun is a metaphor. The sun is called the eye of heaven. This is so beautiful. So sometimes the eye of heaven shines, but it's too hot, okay? And or his complexion, so his look is dimmed. Is dimmed by what? Maybe by clouds. Then he says, and then he starts talking about, introduce another topic, another argument. He says, and every fair from fair sometime declines, which is true, that beauty is not eternal. Every fair, every beauty may not be fair anymore because of just time, because time makes it ugly, or by chance. It can happen something which makes your beauty not be so beautiful anymore. So sometimes time can ruin, can waste your beauty, your perfection. We can say that in this sonnet, the poet mainly deals with two themes. The first one is physical beauty, which is doomed to fade. So physical beauty sooner or later will vanish. And the second is the power of poetry can preserve beauty forever. Okay, how does he present these two themes? At the beginning, he introduces the idea that you are more lovely because even summer, as we said, summer can be rough, okay, or maybe too hot, or maybe sometimes can be cold. And then beauty, natural beauty, sometimes can change. Sometimes can change or can vanish or fade for any reason, passing of time. So physical beauty, human beauty is not eternal, actually, okay? And then he says, well, even if human beauty is not eternal, and sooner or later human beauty will vanish, will fade away, your beauty will never end, will never fade. You know why? Because you will live in my lines. I'm describing your beauty, I'm talking about your beauty, so you will be in my lines forever. And this is actually this with the eternal value, and the most important value, the power of poetry. So the eternal value of a poetry and the power of poetry that makes things become eternal. So it's better than nature. Poetry is better than nature. It's better even than of human. It's better than human nature. So poetry is better than human nature, but even better than natural beauty. Okay, so what is poetry? Poetry is very important and can overtake even death. When does he say this? On line 11, he says, "But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of the fair thou owest, nor will lose your beauty." Okay? And then he says, there's something very, very interesting. He says, "And nor shall death break thou wanderers in the shade." This is very interesting because he says, nor death, not even death, will boost that you are wandering in his shade. So death here is treated like a person. There is a personification of death. This is very interesting to see how Shakespeare used death, describing like a person whose shade was placed for people to walk into. So this is very interesting, and I think this has very old origins. But then this idea will be taken again, will be recalled by romantic poets. So remember that all Shakespeare's works will be relevant for the future generations to take their inspirations. Okay, how does he end? Well, he concludes the sonnet saying, "So you nor shall death break thou wanderest in shade, when in eternal lines to time thou grows." So another important theme of this poem is time. So you won't die with the passing of time, but you will live, you will grow with the passing of time. So my description of your beauty, the description of your beauty in my sonnet, will last forever. Not only will last, so it won't end, but it will grow. It will make you even better, even more beautiful. So this is the power of poetry. And it's very important for him to state this. And then in the final couplet, in the final two lines, he concludes, he tells us what actually was very important for him. And he tells us quickly, he says, "So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long as all men, all humankind will live, because men can breathe and eyes can see, so long this poem lives. And this poem will give life to you." So he says to thee, because as I said before, thou meant you and thee also meant you. So in the final couplets, he closes, he reveals the purpose of the poem to talk about eternity in lines, eternity of a life in lines. And so again, he likes to restate the importance of poetry, so the importance of art, above all, above everything, even on nature. Okay, so you see how this work is interesting. Okay, so this is the end of my comment on this beautiful sonnet. Here he studies, he explores the relationship between the value of beauty, of human beauty, of nature, of human nature, and art, and the importance of art as maybe the only one able to make beauty last forever and be eternal. And I think it's true, because we are still reading this poem and we are still considering how beautiful these lines are, and we are still attracted, fascinated by the beauty we wonder how handsome, how beautiful this person had to be. We have an idea. But we're also fascinated by the way Shakespeare managed to describe, by using what? By using metaphors, by using similes, so all language patterns, by evoking images in our mind, so appealing to our imagery, but also by telling us that art is important. Art is life. Art won't be affected by death or by eternity. Art is forever, as long as we live and we are able to read it, okay, or we are able to appreciate it, okay. And I think this is the end of this explanation. I hope you like it. I hope you find it interesting, and that you reflect about the fact that all human beings should consider art an important value. Okay? Bye bye for now. A big kiss. See you next time. And if you like this, don't forget your thumb up. Bye bye.